Hey guys, and welcome to World War II Solitaire board game channel. I'm gonna do another playthrough video of Kido Butai. And this game, I'm expecting you to know the rules. So if you haven't watched my first playthrough video where I go into greater details on the rules, I recommend you to watch that video first. Last game I was quite lucky, or I was very lucky, and I managed to take out the entire US carrier fleet. This time we're gonna see if I am as lucky as that time. So anyway guys, Kido Butai, let's get going. I've just prepared all my bombers here, and I have prepared them with bombs because I'm gonna do just like I did last time, trying to bomb Midway before I discover their carriers. So I have loaded up all my bombers with bombs instead of torpedoes. I'm sending them all out. There's a total of 10 bombers, and with those bombers I'm sending 2 zero planes to escort them. After that, again, I'm gonna have a red die for me and a green one for the US. So we go to the reconnaissance phase. Remember, the US finds my carrier fleet on a 5 to 6, and I only find theirs on a 6. So we don't find each other. That means we don't go to the US phase, we go to the next turn. And that means my bombers and their escorts arrive to Midway. And when they arrive, you will turn them around this way, indicating that they have been flying for one turn. Okay, so we go to the reconnaissance phase again. I'm gonna keep my 2 zero fighters here landed because the US can't engage me until turn number 3, even if they locate my fleet. So let's check for reconnaissance. Ooh, look at that, double 6, that's kind of fun. Okay, so the US have found my fleet, but I have also found theirs. That's quite a fun result. 6-6. Okay, so next turn I'm definitely gonna launch a Comet Air Patrol. Okay, so we go to turn number 3, and we start with obviously with our Japanese phase, and I launch a zero fighter in the Comet Air Patrol box to protect my carriers. My bombers are gonna go ahead and bomb, so we turn them this way, indicating that they have been flying for 2 turns. We do the same with our zero planes. And then before we get to bomb, we're gonna go ahead and draw from the US fighter plane cup. A random counter. Oops, I draw 2. See if I can do this. Okay, so we have a no fighter counter. That means we're not gonna meet any fighter. I'm gonna place that 3 turns ahead on the turn track, and then I'm gonna go ahead and roll for anti-aircraft fire, and the US will make one of my bombers go back on a roll of 5 to 6. So they roll a 3, so they don't hit me with their AA. So I have a total number of 10 bombers, so each and every one of them gets to roll 1 dice. I hit carriers on a roll of 5 to 6, but this is Midway. I only hit Midway on a roll on 6, so it's quite difficult, but let's see if we can do it. 10 dice. Okay, so let's see. We have 2 6s here, but 2 dice fell out. I'm gonna re-roll them, so they might change the result. Ooh, close call, but no, look at that guys, we got 6, so that's cool. That means we have successfully taken out Midway. Whoops. Okay, so normally we would have our reconnaissance check now, but we're gonna skip that since I have found the US fleet and they have found me. So that means we're gonna go to the American phase now. But before we do so, we're gonna put our bombers here in the middle of the map, indicating they're going home after bombing Midway together with their fighter planes. Okay, so we go to the American phase now, and what we'll do now is we're gonna take the bomber cup and randomly draw to see if we get a bomber. Yes, we get 1 bomber. Another one. And then we get a seagull token. So 2 bombers, and then we need to see if they have some fighters accompanying them. We have 1 fighter and a no fighter. So a total of 2 bombers and 1 fighter. Okay, so the fighter is gonna engage my 0, and that means the bombers go unopposed. The first thing we're gonna do, however, is to roll to see if these bombers are torpedo bombers or dive bombers. On a roll on 1 to 3, they are gonna be torpedo bombers. 4 to 6, they are dive bombers. And we roll a 6, so they are gonna be dive bombers. And the way that changes, if I were to engage torpedo bombers, I'd have to turn this guy this way, and that means he would be flying low, and next turn he couldn't engage dive bombers. But anyway, we might get to that. So these are dive bombers, and the first one is attacking Agaki, and the second one is attacking Kaga. But first we're gonna do fighter here, combat here, so the Buffalo versus my 0. I'll take him out on a roll to, on 5 to 6, and the Buffalo takes my 0 out on a roll of 6. So I have an advantage here. However, that doesn't matter. The 0 is a skilled fighter. He takes my 0 out. So that's 1-0 out of the game. And the Buffalo fighter, however, is also good because I would have placed him here. But since I've taken out Midway, which has a value of 3, let's see, you can see the 3 over there. It has a value of 3, and that means I'm gonna have to remove 3 American planes once they enter this turn track. So don't forget that when you remove one of these guys, you got also to remove one of the seagull tokens with it. Okay, so we still have 2 bombers here. Let's see. And actually, this one should be the one I remove, which accompanying it. Okay, so we have some bombers here, but before we try to bomb, we're gonna roll for Japanese AA. I will roll 1 dice for each Japanese carrier, and they make the bombers turn back on a roll of 6. And look at that, I get 2 6s, so that's cool. I make these bombers turn back. And you take the bombers, you take the fighter counters and the seagull counters. When there's a US attack, you put them 5 boxes in front of you. Okay, so we go to the next turn. And in this turn, we have a real problem. The only ready 0 fight we have is the 0 fighter on Agaki. But there is this special rule that you can't land planes on carriers in the same turn as you launch ships. So the real problem here is if I launch this 0 fighter, I will lose the 4 planes I can land on Agaki. And basically what that means is I have to choose now to either lose those 4 planes or keep my combat air patrol empty. And keeping that empty can be really fatal. You've seen it if you watch my previous video, because if the bombers go unopposed, well, you're done for. And actually, I think my option will be I will launch that 0 fighter into the combat air patrol, and I will lose, unfortunately, 3 planes. So first of all, I'm landing the bombers on Kaga together with their 0 fighter. Then I'm landing on Soryu and Hiryu. And they should, when they land, they should be faced in that direction. So now I would like to land these last 3 bombers on Agaki, but I can't because I launched that 0 fighter into the combat air patrol from Agaki. However, I have lost one zero plane, so I can land an additional bomber on Hiryu. However, these two bombers, which are still in the air, have to crash land into the water because there's no place for them to land since I'm using Agaki to launch the Zero Fighter. So I've lost two bombers. Okay, so let's see. We don't do the normal reconnaissance phase since we have found each other. So we're gonna go ahead now and draw for US bombers attacking. And look at that, we get a bomber, so I am quite lucky, I think, that I choose that tactic. And we get another bomber, and another bomber. And so totally we get 3 bombers. So if I wouldn't had crash landed my 2 bombers, I think I would have been in big trouble. And fighters, we have 1 fighter. We have 2 fighters. We have a total of 2 fighters. Okay, so my fighters engage the 0 plane. Again, they shoot me down on a roll of 6. I shoot them down on a roll of 5 to 6. And I was quite lucky. Did you see that roll? If you didn't see that roll, go back and put on slow motion, because I think they rolled a 6. And my 6 made that 6 into a 1 or a 5, and then I rolled a 6. So I took down one of their Buffalo fighters. Remember guys, when you take out a plane, don't forget to take the seagull token with it. I think I forgot that in the previous video. Yep, so this Buffalo fighter go 5 places front. So then we have bombers, right? And remember, we have to roll to see if they're dive bombers or torpedo bombers. So we roll a dice and we roll a 4, so that means they're dive bombers. Very lucky us, because we don't have a 0 plane to launch the next turn, since they're all, being loaded with ammo and stuff. And that means if they would have been torpedo bombers in the next turn, if I had got dive bombers again or escorted torpedo bombers, this fighter wouldn't have been able to engage them. Anyway, we are still in trouble here, because we're facing 3 bombers, but I have 4 carriers, so I'm gonna roll 4 dice for my AA. Hopefully I make at least one of them go back. Okay, that's a cool die. Okay, I'm gonna re-roll that die. Okay. I was thinking like, come on, I'm gonna be lucky, please, but nope. Okay, so we roll 3 dice for the US bombers, which have gotten past my fighters and my AA, and they will hit these. You just pair them up with each carrier, and they will hit my carrier on a roll of 5 to 6. So we start with the first one. Next one. Oh, okay. Third one, come on, please. Yeah! I rolled 3 ones, guys. Oh, man. Whew, what a relief. Oh, okay. So, yeah, this game gets tense, guys. Okay, so these guys go back. They go 5 turns ahead in the turn counter. And that's the end of that turn. So, we go into the next turn. We rotate our flying cap 0. And these guys are reloading. So when you reload your bombers, that's when you have to choose to either load them with torpedoes. Let's see if I can get it to focus. Torpedoes or bombs. And since I've taken out Midway now, there's no reason for me to have bombs. I found their carriers. I need torpedoes. So I'm gonna go ahead and reload all of my bombers now with torpedoes. I've lost 2 bombers so far. Okay, so we skip the reconnaissance phase now, and we go to the American bombing. So we draw a random counter for a US bomber. Man, how many bombers? Oh man, you see, sometimes you just get so many bombers. I think my record is actually 4 bombers. Also remember, guys, we did take out Midway, so we should take out 3 planes. So this bomber from the turn track, together with its corresponding seagull icon, goes out of the game. Okay, guys, so let's see. We have 4 bombers, and let's see if we get some fighters too. There's only 2 counters left, 1 of each, so there's a 50% chance that I'll get a... Yeah, of course I get a fighter too. Okay, and then we draw this counter. Okay, not good for us. But let's see what we can do. The fighter engages my 0, first of all. So we roll 2 dice. And we just cancel each other out. So there's no damage to either one of us. And we place it 5 turns ahead on the turn track. Then we have our bombers. So we need to roll now to see if they're dive bombers or torpedo bombers. And they are dive bombers. And, sorry, they are torpedo bombers. And that means we have to turn our 0 to low flying combat air patrol. So that means in the next turn, if I get dive bombers or escorted torpedo bombers, this guy can't defend against the bombers. So anyway, that's quite bad. Let's hope my guys manning the AA guns are efficient. Rolling 4 dice, we have 4 carriers. Oh, darn. Okay. Unfortunately, I don't think they were well trained, my AA guys. So nothing happened with the AA fire. So now we will roll for each bomber individually. First one against Agaki, close call. Against Kaga, close call again, guys. And then against Soryu. Ooh, and against Hiryu. Oh man, these guys are unlucky. I'm telling you guys, there's something when I turn on this camera, I have so much luck. 4 bombers and none of them hit. Okay, so that's the end of the US phase. We go now into a new turn, and notice now that turn tracker is meeting a counter here, and that's a no fighter counter, and we'll put that in the fighter cup. Okay, so our planes are loaded up and ready to go. We're gonna go ahead and send them out. And we're gonna go ahead and send them out to meet to meet those carriers. And I have good news for you guys, because I can see there's a dive bomber there, and that's gonna be the turn that I meet the carriers. And there aren't any fighters left, so my bombers again are gonna go unopposed against the carriers. So that's gonna give me all those nice points. And we have to adjust this one too. Okay, I'm gonna leave, let's see, or should I? I think I will leave him like that. Yeah, I'll leave him like that. Because there's no fighters, so there aren't gonna be any fighters accompanying. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There aren't gonna be any fighters, so I will be able to counter even if there are. But I won't be able to counter dive bombers. Okay, so I am gonna go ahead and launch another 0 in the combat air patrol. Okay, so no reconnaissance phase, but we go to a US bomber phase, or US phase. And we have a US bomber. Man, they never run out of bombers, do they? Okay, so we have a bomber, and we're gonna go ahead and roll for a fighter. And we know there's only a seagull left, so no surprise there. And then we're gonna go ahead and roll to see if they are torpedo bombers or dive bombers. And we roll a 3. So that's, again, a torpedo bomber. Okay, so what happens now is my low-flying combat air patrol engages the torpedo bomber. Note that a low-flying combat air patrol can only engage a torpedo bomber if the torpedo bomber is unescorted. Because if it has escort fighters, the fighters will cancel you out. This is according to the rules. A little bit tricky. I don't know why, but that's how it works. I guess because the low-flying combat air patrol doesn't have momentum to, pounce on the torpedo bombers. Anyway, let's roll. What we are gonna roll now to see if my fighter cancels the bomber. On a roll of 5 to 6, it takes the bomber out. On a roll of 3 to 4, it just makes him turn back. And we roll a 1. So unfortunately, that means he goes unopposed and tries to bomb Akaki. But I will get to roll for AA from each of my 4 carriers, hitting on 6. Okay, so I managed to roll a 6, so he's turning back, and again 5 ahead when they are attacking, 3 ahead when you're attacking on the turn counter. Okay, so we go to the next turn, and that means my torpedo bombers have reached their destination. And these should also go over here. And when you start the turn with a 0 fighter heading facing west, that means he has to land. So I'm landing with this one on, let's say, Agaki. No, I don't want to do that. I want to land with him on Hiryu. And then remember to turn him that way when you land to indicate that he needs to reload next turn. And my 0 fighter, which is high flying, is going to stay in the combat air patrol box. And we'll draw for the US again. I think they should have a seagull now. I mean, yep, there we go. No bombers. Okay, so we put that 5 ahead. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And we go into the next turn. And again, that's when the turn counter meets US counter. You'll put that back in the cup. Okay, so now I will find the US carriers, or I found them. I arrived to them. And I turn my, let's see, bomber counters this way. Okay, and now I will draw for the carriers. So this is exciting. This is an exciting part of the game. So the first one is the Hornet. And now you take the no carrier seagull token or counter. Focus please, camera. And you put it in this cup together with the 2 remaining carriers, because there's a total of 3 US carriers. And you randomly draw one, hopefully not the seagull. Oh, that's cool, we got the Enterprise. And then you draw again. Ooh, okay, let's see, can I find it? Oh, I got the Yorktown. So luckily for me, the US carriers hadn't split up. So that means I don't have the roll, because if I would have got the no carrier token, that means they would have split up. The Yorktown would have been the last one, right? So that means I would have to roll for reconnaissance again, trying to find the Yorktown, only being able to attack Enterprise and the Hornet. Anyway, this is now discarded from the game. Okay, so let's see. We have to split up our attack now. And I'm going to go ahead and attack with 3 on the Hornet, 3 bombers on the Enterprise, and 2 bombers on Yorktown. And now we have to draw for fighters, but the cup is empty, so we are unopposed. There's no combat air patrol to protect these poor carriers, since they've all been engaged in combat. And I'm also taken two of them out, actually. Okay, so let's see here what we need to do now. We need to roll for AA, and they each get to roll 1 die. And a difference here is that US AA hits on a roll of 5 to 6 instead of a roll of 6. So we start with the Hornet, trying to defend against these 3 KT or Kate torpedo bombers. And they manage to turn one of those back. And then we go to the Enterprise. And they don't do as good. They don't manage to make any of the bombers turn back. And we go to Yorktown. And Yorktown roll a 3. So unfortunately, they are also unsuccessful. Alright, so this is bad news for them, because that means basically I won again. the two KT torpedoes are gonna go ahead and roll, and each pip represents 1 damage. And I do 6 damage. 1 damage would have taken this guy out, but he's done for, okay? And then we have the Enterprise, where we have 3 bombers. So we're all 3 dice. And we have, let's see, not 18, 16. So that means 16 hits. We only need 2 to take out the Enterprise. And then we have Yorktown. Sorry, that should have been 2 dice. So I'm going to go ahead and re-roll. I'll keep the bad one and I re-roll the other one. Doesn't matter really, guys, because 5 hits, I only need 2. Yorktown has been taken out. Okay, I'm telling you again, guys, there's something strange when I'm, using this camera. But you have seen me because I've recorded this basically without taking any, editing anything. So you've seen me live action now take out these carriers. So don't go calling me a cheater. Okay, so basically we're going to remove all of these now, because all of these counters, they are crash landing into the ocean, since they don't have anywhere to land. And I think basically you are going to keep playing until you, ran out of these. So we'll do that. Okay, so we go to the US phase now. And we have no bomber, which goes 5 boxes ahead. Next turn, and also that goes away since there's no carriers to land. Okay, so these guys are landing. And this guy becomes reloaded. And this guy is turned, and I'm going to go ahead and... Nope, I can't launch him since I landed. Okay, so we draw US bombers again. Again, we have a no bomber. Go to next turn. These guys are reloaded. And I'm going to go ahead and land this 0 and launch 2 other 0s into my combat air patrol. No bomber again. Next turn, this guy is reloaded, and I'm just gonna keep these bombers where they are. There's nothing left to bomb. And let's draw an American. Oh, we have a bomber and a no bomber. There's no fighter to draw for them. So my 0 planes, 2 of them are gonna engage the bomber. We're gonna roll for it to see if it's a dive bomber or a torpedo bomber. It's a torpedo bomber. So they both need to go low to fire. And remember, they kill him on a 5 to 6. They make him turn back on a 3 to 4. Okay, so I roll a 1 and a 3. That's not very good. But I do make him go back, so he doesn't get to bomb my carriers. And again, we're not going to place him out here since we've destroyed all the places to land. Okay, next turn. These guys are landing on the carriers, and this guy is launching into the combat air patrol. And we get a no bomber. So next turn, and these guys become reloaded. And we keep drawing. Oops, 1 fell out automatically, so that's a no bomber. Next turn. Yeah, you shouldn't forget to turn your combat air patrol plane either. Oh, this is the last counter, and it's a bomber. Okay, cool. So we roll to see if it's a dive bomber or not. It's a dive bomber, meaning I'm going to fight him on elevated level. And then I'm going to go ahead and, let's see, roll for my 0 damage. And I roll a 2. So there are 2, that means he slips past my defenses. So I roll 4 dice for my 4 carriers, AA, hitting on a 6. And look at that, I get a 6. And that's the end of the game. Or not really, I mean, there's no counters left here, guys. Look, I kill them all. Let's just keep playing to the end just because it's fun. This guy is landing here. I'm launching these 2 guys. We go to the next turn. Nothing happens because there's nothing else. My 0 here is reloaded, and that's the end of the turn. Bam. I've taken out everything. I've taken out Midway and the carriers. Okay, I was gonna show this because I wanted to do a second video because, first of all, I really like this game. It's so much fun and it's so tense. Like this, recon phase, you're always like, oh, so nervous that they're gonna find you, and then once they find you and you don't find them, and all you want to is to find them, to take them out, and it's all very much, there's very much tension going on. However, again, there's something happening when I turn his camera on, because the only times I've taken out their carriers is while doing these playthrough videos. So usually it's not this easy. Usually there is, I'm usually getting bombed here in turn 4, 5, or 6. They're taking out my my carriers. Anyway, guys, that's Kido Butai. Again, an excellent game. I like it very much, and I highly recommend it. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe. See you next time.